Welcome to the Crime Hunters. Today, we have a special episode in honor of Indian Independence Day. This day, celebrated on August 15th, marks the end of nearly 200 years of British colonial rule and the birth of a free and independent India. In honor of this monumental day, we're going back to one of the most daring acts of rebellion that helped fuel the fire of independence, the Kakori Conspiracy of 1925. As we celebrate the 77th anniversary of India's freedom, it's important to remember the sacrifices of those who fought for it, often at great personal cost. Today's story is not just about a crime, but a powerful message sent by brave revolutionaries who believed that true freedom could only be won through direct action. These men, many of them in their 20s, took a bold stand against the British by robbing a government train to finance their revolutionary activities. This wasn't just about money, it was about showing the British Empire that the Indian spirit for freedom could not be crushed. Their actions inspired a generation of freedom fighters and became a symbol of defiance in the struggle for independence. So, on this special day, as we honor the hard-earned freedom of India, let's take a closer look at the Kakori Conspiracy, a revolutionary crime that left a mark on India's fight for liberty and justice. Join us as we uncover the courage, sacrifice, and daring plans of these young freedom fighters. To understand the Kakori Conspiracy, we need to step back into the India of the 1920s. It was a time of growing unrest, frustration, and anger against the British Empire. The Indian National Congress, led by figures like Mahatma Gandhi, had launched the non-cooperation movement, urging Indians to peacefully boycott British goods and services. While this movement saw wide support, not everyone believed that non-violence alone could win India its freedom. Among the younger generation of revolutionaries, there was a growing sense of urgency. They believed that armed resistance was the only way to shake the British hold on India. For these young men, freedom wasn't just a distant dream, it was something worth fighting and dying for. And among these revolutionaries was a group called the Hindustan Republican Association, HRA. Formed in 1924, the HRA's mission was simple: to liberate India from British rule by any means necessary, including armed struggle. The members of the HRA were a mix of passionate, brave, and determined freedom fighters. Many of them came from different parts of the country but were united by their common desire for freedom. Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, and others saw themselves not just as rebels, but as soldiers in India's fight for independence. However, to sustain a revolutionary movement of this scale, they needed funds to buy weapons, print literature, and carry out operations against the British. But where would they get this money? The British-controlled banks and treasuries were heavily guarded, so the HRA needed to think of a plan that would hit the British financially while sending a strong message. That's when the idea of robbing a government train carrying British money came into play. A train robbery wasn't just a way to secure funds, it was a symbolic act of defiance. If successful, it would show the British that India's revolutionaries were not afraid, and that the fight for independence was gaining strength. The plan was to rob a train carrying government money, right under the nose of the British Raj. The target, the 8-down train running between Shahjahanpur and Lucknow, which was known to carry cash reserves for the British Treasury. As the group of young revolutionaries planned the daring heist, the stakes couldn't have been higher. They knew that if they were caught, the consequences would be severe, potentially even death. But the desire for freedom burned too brightly in their hearts to turn back. The Kakori Conspiracy was about to unfold, and it would soon become one of the most iconic events in the history of India's fight for freedom. On the night of August 9, 1925, the revolutionaries of the Hindustan Republican Association, HRA, executed one of the most audacious acts of defiance against British rule, the Kakori train robbery. The plan, meticulously crafted over months, was about to come to life. The target was the 8-down train, which was scheduled to travel from Shahjahanpur to Lucknow. This train was known to carry large sums of money for the British Treasury, making it a prime target for the HRA. The revolutionary group, led by figures like Ram Prasad Bismil and Ashfaqullah Khan, had gathered intelligence about the train schedule and the security measures in place. As night fell, the revolutionaries took their positions. They were armed and dressed in the typical attire of the time, blending in with the general populace to avoid suspicion. The plan was simple yet daring: stop the train, overpower the guards, and seize the treasury chest containing the cash. At around 8:30 p.m., the train approached Kakori, a small town near Lucknow. The revolutionaries, led by Bismil and Khan, had strategically placed themselves along the tracks. Using a combination of stolen railway signals and quick thinking, they managed to halt the train. The sudden stop startled passengers and crew alike. In a matter of moments, the well-orchestrated plan was set into motion. The revolutionaries, numbering about 10, stormed the train. They first overpowered the guards in the guards' cabin, where the treasury chest was kept. Despite the guards' attempts to resist, the revolutionaries were quick and efficient, managing to take control of the situation with minimal violence. The chest, heavily secured and containing a substantial amount of British money, was their primary objective. The revolutionaries used tools and force to break open the cabin where the chest was located. With the chest in hand, they quickly made their way to a prearranged hideout. The entire operation lasted less than half an hour, but it was executed with precision. The robbery was not just a financial blow to the British, but also a powerful statement of resistance. The train, once robbed, was left in chaos, with passengers and crew bewildered and frightened. As the revolutionaries fled the scene, they took the stolen money with them to a safe location. The loot was intended to fund their revolutionary activities, including acquiring weapons and supporting other freedom fighters. But the heist was not without risks. The revolutionaries had to act swiftly and decisively to avoid capture. In the immediate aftermath, the British authorities were thrown into a frenzy. The Kakori train robbery was a significant blow to their pride and operations. The British government quickly mobilized resources to investigate the robbery, vowing to capture those responsible and make an example of them. The Kakori robbery was a testament to the courage and determination of the HRA members. While it succeeded in its immediate goals, the revolutionaries knew that their actions would come with severe consequences. They were prepared to face the repercussions, knowing that their fight for India's freedom was far from over. Following the audacious Kakori train robbery, the British authorities were determined to bring the perpetrators to justice. The boldness of the heist and the symbolic nature of the act made it a priority for the colonial government to resolve quickly and decisively. As news of the robbery spread, the British Raj launched a full-scale investigation, mobilizing law enforcement and intelligence agencies. The British administration was deeply concerned not only about the loss of the money but also about the potential impact on their control over India. The robbery had struck a nerve, and there was a growing fear that more such acts could follow. The British police began by examining the scene of the robbery meticulously. They gathered evidence from the train, spoke to witnesses, and traced any clues that could lead them to the culprits. Despite the revolutionaries' efforts to cover their tracks, some evidence was left behind, including fingerprints and items abandoned in their hasty escape. The authorities also focused on the revolutionaries' known associates. They were aware that the HRA had a network of supporters and sympathizers, which meant the investigation extended into tracking down anyone who might have had contact with the robbers. This included interrogating local residents, activists, and anyone with connections to the freedom movement. The breakthrough in the investigation came from a combination of intelligence and betrayal. The British police managed to uncover information about the HRA's activities and their network. In some cases, informants or members of the HRA who were either caught or coerced into giving information led the authorities to the key figures involved in the robbery. The first major arrest was of a HRA member named Ram Prasad Bismil. Known for his leadership and revolutionary fervor, Bismil's capture was a significant blow to the group. Ashfaqullah Khan, another prominent figure in the conspiracy, was also soon apprehended. The British authorities, with their extensive resources, were able to track down and arrest several other members of the HRA who were involved in the heist. The arrests were followed by intense interrogations. Many of the revolutionaries faced harsh treatment and were put under immense pressure to reveal their accomplices and details about the robbery. Despite the brutal methods used, many of the arrested remained steadfast, refusing to betray their comrades or their cause. The British government sought to make an example of those involved in the Kakori Conspiracy. The trial was conducted with high visibility and aimed at demonstrating the severity of the consequences for those who dared to challenge British authority. The accused were charged with multiple counts, including robbery, murder, and conspiracy against the state. As the trial proceeded, the courtroom became a stage for showcasing the British Empire's resolve to suppress dissent. The media coverage was extensive, and the case became a symbol of the British effort to maintain control over India amidst growing revolutionary activities. In the end, the British authorities succeeded in capturing most of the key figures involved in the Kakori robbery. The arrests and subsequent trial served as a chilling reminder of the risks associated with challenging colonial rule, but they also galvanized many Indians to continue their fight for freedom. The bravery of those involved in the heist and the harsh response from the British only served to fuel the resolve of other freedom fighters across the country. With the key figures of the Kakori Conspiracy in custody, the next phase in the saga was the trial. The British authorities were determined to make an example of the revolutionaries to deter further acts of rebellion against their rule. The trial of the Kakori conspirators became a significant event, symbolizing the clash between colonial power and the fight for Indian independence. The trial began in late 1925 and was held at the Special Sessions Court in Lucknow. It was a high-profile case that attracted considerable attention both in India and abroad. The British government sought to portray the revolutionaries not just as criminals but as a dangerous threat to the stability of their empire. The accused were charged with a range of serious offenses, including robbery, conspiracy to commit murder, and conspiracy against the state. The prosecution presented a strong case, supported by evidence gathered during the investigation, including testimonies from witnesses and confessions extracted during interrogations. Ram Prasad Bismil, one of the leading figures of the conspiracy, was portrayed as the mastermind behind the heist. His leadership role and the planning of the robbery were highlighted as major points against him. Ashfaq Khan, another key figure, was also prominently featured in the trial. Khan, known for his bravery and commitment to the cause, faced harsh scrutiny and was accused of playing a central role in the planning and execution of the robbery. The defense for the accused faced significant challenges. The trial was heavily biased, and the British judicial system was determined to secure convictions. The defense lawyers argued that the accused were motivated by a desire for national freedom and that their actions, while unlawful, were driven by a political cause. Despite their efforts, the legal proceedings were largely a formality, with the outcome seemingly predetermined. The trial was marked by dramatic moments and intense public interest. The revolutionaries' courage and resolve in the face of adversity were evident. Many of them, including Bismil and Khan, remained steadfast and refused to recant their beliefs or betray their fellow conspirators. Their speeches and statements during the trial resonated with the Indian public and further fueled nationalist sentiments. On October 7, 1926, the verdicts were delivered. The court sentenced 4 of the main conspirators, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaq Khan, Rajendra Lahiri, and Thakar Roshan Singh, to death. Their sentences were met with shock and grief among their supporters. The remaining accused were sentenced to life imprisonment or varying terms of imprisonment. The harsh sentences were meant to serve as a warning to other potential rebels. The execution of the 4 key revolutionaries took place on December 19, 1927. Their deaths were a somber moment in India's struggle for independence, marking the loss of some of the country's bravest fighters. The British authorities had hoped that these severe punishments would stifle the revolutionary movement, but the opposite occurred. The bravery and sacrifice of Bismil, Khan, Lahiri, and Singh became legendary, inspiring countless others to continue the fight for freedom. In the years following the trial, the Kakori Conspiracy became a symbol of resistance against British rule. The sacrifices made by the conspirators highlighted the depth of commitment and the high stakes of the struggle for independence. Their story was remembered as a testament to the courage and determination of those who fought for a free India. The Kakori Conspiracy had a profound impact on the Indian independence movement, extending far beyond the immediate consequences of the train robbery and subsequent trial. This daring act of rebellion and its aftermath left an enduring legacy in India's fight for freedom. The immediate effect of the Kakori train robbery was the severe crackdown by the British authorities. The execution of key figures like Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaq Khan, Rajendra Lahiri, and Thakar Roshan Singh was intended to serve as a powerful deterrent. However, instead of quelling the revolutionary spirit, their sacrifice became a rallying cry for those opposed to British rule. The bravery and resolve of the Kakori conspirators were widely publicized, and their story quickly became a symbol of resistance and defiance. Their commitment to the cause of Indian independence inspired many young Indians to join the struggle against colonial oppression. The HRA's audacious action and the subsequent martyrdom of its members underscored the high stakes of the independence movement and the lengths to which some were willing to go for freedom. The trial and execution of the conspirators drew significant attention both within India and internationally. In India, their sacrifice galvanized public opinion and intensified anti-colonial sentiments. The martyrdom of the Kakori revolutionaries became a powerful narrative in the broader struggle for independence, illustrating the personal costs of the fight against British rule. Furthermore, the Kakori conspiracy highlighted the need for more organized and strategic revolutionary activity. The Indian National Congress and other political groups took note of the HRA's approach and began to incorporate more militant strategies into their own movements. The bravery of the Kakori conspirators helped shift the dynamics of the independence struggle, leading to a more diversified range of tactics in the fight for freedom. In the years following the events, the Kakori Conspiracy continued to be remembered and honored as a significant episode in India's freedom struggle. The courage of the revolutionaries became part of the national consciousness, and their story was retold as a testament to the sacrifices made for India's independence. Educational institutions, literature, and popular media have since celebrated their contributions, ensuring that their legacy endures. The Kakori Conspiracy remains an important chapter in Indian history, representing the undying spirit of resistance and the relentless pursuit of freedom. The revolutionaries' actions and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the high price of liberty and the indomitable will of those who fought against oppression. Their legacy continues to inspire generations of Indians and stands as a powerful symbol of the struggle for justice and independence. As we conclude today's episode on the Kakori Conspiracy, it's clear that this daring act of rebellion was more than just a train robbery. It was a pivotal moment in India's struggle for independence. On this Indian Independence Day, remembering the courage and sacrifice of the revolutionaries who took part in the Kakori heist is both fitting and significant. The Kakori Conspiracy highlighted the intense struggle and profound sacrifices that marked India's path to freedom. The bravery of Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, Rajendra Lahiri, and Thakur Roshan Singh not only challenged British colonial rule but also inspired countless others to join the fight for liberation. Their story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to accept oppression and fought valiantly for a free India. While the immediate aftermath of the robbery brought severe consequences, the impact of their actions was felt far beyond their own time. The martyrdom of these young freedom fighters became a symbol of resistance and a rallying point for the broader independence movement. Their legacy endures as a powerful reminder of the cost of freedom and the lengths to which people will go to achieve it. Thank you for joining us on the Crime Hunters as we explored this remarkable chapter in India's history. On this Indian Independence Day, let's reflect on the bravery of those who fought for our freedom and honor their memory by continuing to cherish and uphold the values they fought for. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that uncover the past and reveal the stories that shaped our present. See you next time.